Hello, everyone. I just said in the weekly live Q&A of Coach Growth Hub that I will very likely not do a live today because I'm not feeling all too well. And then I saw discussions about people being overwhelmed in a membership, and I thought, okay, I just have to jump in because, guys, there is one remedy solution to overwhelm that you all have access in the membership to, and that you can freely use with your clients. Okay, so this is exactly what I do to avoid overwhelm. And this is what, if you're overwhelmed, you're not very, very likely not doing this. Okay, so we will end your overwhelm once and for all right now, reminding you of this tool that you have and that I'm now giving my explicit permission to use with all your clients. Okay, remember, we have the daily self management worksheet, and this is your tool to fight overwhelm. I'm doing this every single day because otherwise my brain would explode too, and I would feel like information overload, too much demand, I'm not sure what to do, right? But this is actually what grounds me every single day and why I'm able to move as fast as I move with my memberships, how I'm holding space for over 7,000 paying monthly members, and how I'm, looking like I'm creating something new, launching something new, offering something new all all the time. It is literally this. This is the secret sauce. This is everything. And not being overwhelmed. Managing yourself is a daily practice. It's the number one skill that you need to have in order to succeed with this program and any program, from my personal experience, in my humble opinion. So please take this. Like I said, you can use it for yourself. You can use it with your clients. I've been using this for years now at this point, and this is the foundation of my success. Okay, so what this looks like is that it's a 10-minute daily task, and I'm doing this before I'm touching anything else. Before I'm listening to something, learning something, opening my emails, opening my Facebook, Instagram. I'm not touching anything before I have done that. And that is my guard to not be overwhelmed on that day, right? Because I can always re anchor myself back to this document and to the things that I actually need to accomplish on any given day, right? So start your day by brain dumping everything you think you need to do. Everything that's on your mind, all the thoughts that you have, all the ideas, all the inspiration, everything needs to go on here. Okay? So really empty this out so you don't have to carry it with you all day. Then Eisenhower Matrix, take all of those tasks and put them in a bucket. Is it urgent and important? You need to get it done today, right? Everything that is really urgent and really important, and question that, like, why is it important? Is it important for me? Is it important for my vision? Does it pay into the vision? Or do I think it's urgent and important because I said yes to someone, promised something where I should have said no to, and now it's important, right? So really question why something goes into the bucket urgent, important, or into any other bucket. Put it here, get it done, right? Put it on a list, prioritize with I'm doing color coding here, right? And then that gets done today, right? The things below, they get done on another day. But that's the most important thing. Is it important and not urgent? You need to schedule it, because otherwise those big pillar things that are working on the business and moving you forward, they never get done. So you need to block a time in your calendar, and when you said that you will get it done, you will actually have to get it done on that day, because you have to keep your promises to yourself in order for you to know that you can trust yourself, right? So that's self-confidence, is that you're confident in yourself, that you can trust yourself. When you say you do something, you do it, right? So making that promise to yourself and keeping it, really, really important. Important, not urgent. Schedule it sooner rather than later. And when it's on your calendar, no discussion, it gets done. Is it not important but urgent? Then find a way to delegate it or outsource it, or have those uncomfortable conversations of, I might have overextended and I might have promised you something that I should not have promised you. I would like to not do this anymore. And honestly, 30% of my capacity comes from having uncomfortable conversations or delegating something and saying, well, I thought that I should be doing this, but now I'm looking at this through, clear eyes and in the morning, and I'm like, hey, actually, it should not be me who does this, right? Because when I'm looking at my hourly rate and when I'm looking at my other responsibilities, it's irresponsible for me to do this task. So I either need to have this conversation with someone else to do it, I need to create a process around it, or I need to go to the person and say, look, can't do it, or can't do it today because other tasks, right? So that's a key skill to learn, to set those boundaries and to reset expectations if you can't meet them, and not pushing yourself through things, right? And always pushing the things that are important for you, that will ultimately create less overwhelm and build something for you, to push them to the side, right? The same also goes with things inspire you right now. You saw a latest YouTube video from me or from someone else, and now you want to, or from Jessa, and now you want to create those coloring books on Etsy. That's awesome, right? And I love that there is space for being creative and for exploring, right? So I think that's wonderful, but you gotta schedule time for that. Because if your goal is to be fully booked with one-to-ones in 2 months, then you can schedule that, in a free time pocket where you would have done something else in your free time, but it's actually not a part of you working towards that goal. And it's having to be honest with ourselves there, right? And saying, I made that commitment and I want to build my business. What was the ultimate goal that you set? Or did you set one at all, right? Was your goal to have the membership launched by X date? Then, saying, well, I want to create digital stickers right now, might not be the best choice for you. Or in the other direction, if you're in one of Jess's membership and your goal was to have 100 listings up by the end of Q4, then don't watch my videos about memberships, right? Stay focused on what goal you have set for yourself, and if you want to do those other things, then treat them as a hobby, right? Say, well, because this is not paying into my immediate goal right now, I'm scheduling time in my free time to pursue this hobby, right? But then I can do it without having the pressure to make something out of it. So if you haven't done it yet prior to this, actually define what's your goal till the end of the year, and then work deliberately towards that, and then set your priorities accordingly to that goal, right? So the overwhelm, it comes with this unclarity. That's what I'm trying to convey. It's like you need to get really, really clear about which of those tasks is paying into that vision, is paying into that goal. And if that goal isn't there, you need to set it very, very clearly, right? And then reverse engineer your priorities from there. Some people, like I personally, I always have very clear goals of what I want to accomplish. So the prioritization comes easier to me. But if you say, well, I'm actually not clear towards my goal, like ultimately I want to grow my business, you need to get more specific. Grab a coffee, sit down, or tea or whatever, and say, what's my goal to the end of the year? And how does this goal need to inform my priorities right now? And then if it's not important and if it's not urgent, then delete it, right? If you don't if you don't have the time for it right now, and if there's something you'd love to do, right? You saw a video that is really interesting. Now you can make AI animated movies, right? And that is exciting you, etc., and you want to do that. Again, schedule it in your free time. And if you have set such a um, ambitious goal that you will not have that free time to explore it in order to reach your goal, then ask yourself if it's not more in integrity and true to yourself to not give this your attention right now, because you've made that commitment to hit that goal. And if you should not delete it, right? Again, the same goes also in other directions when it comes to setting boundaries, right? All of those favors that you're saying yes to, right? It's one thing that I've learned is it's good also to say no to people in a certain moment, to be able to be there for them at a much bigger scale later on when you have sorted your things out, right? That goes back to not being able to pour from an empty cup. If you're struggling over here, you first need to make sure to stabilize yourself and get to a position where you can provide and be secure for yourself before you do that for others, to an extent that is an unreasonable amount of time, right? I'm not saying if there's not an immediate crisis or urgency or something that you can do easily to not do that, but I'm saying when you prioritize getting yourself to a good spot right now, you can help much better later on, right? And you cannot keep pouring and giving if there's nothing here, if you're not building something for yourself over there. Taking care of yourself is really, really vital, right? And many of us solopreneurs that work from home, they're so negligent that it's even like not basics like getting sunlight and regular like food, etc., because we're just so glued to our laptop and stressed about making things work. So be mindful of that, right? And say, what can I delete? What can I say no to? How can I cultivate the skill of saying no to opportunities, right? So that I can make space to get the important things done on time. And it's a good idea to set priorities for the day, for the week, and for the month, and to revisit them on a daily basis. And I want to kind of close this with my daily affirmations. This is exactly what I've done in my whole first year. This is the daily affirmations on my route to 6 figures. Let me just quickly see. There's no question right now, but feel free to drop it if you have one. Okay, so my daily affirmations. These were my recommendations that worked for me in the beginning. You can readjust this, whatever is most helpful for you. So my affirmations were, I know my priorities. They're X, Y, and Z. They are, right? So I repeat this. Everything that isn't aligned with my priorities is not an immediate yes. I will take time to make a decision, right? So that goes for me with the demand of, people wanting help or wanting to invite me on a podcast or wanting to do XYZ, or family members or friends, etc., wanting something. So whenever something that is not a defined priority comes in, I will take my time to make a decision if and how I want to fit this in. Okay, today I take 100% responsibility for my life. That also means that I'm not taking away responsibilities from others, right? So that's also, I know that, so many of my coaches are helpers. And one part of this is feeling overly responsible for everyone. And just because you can solve someone's problem, it doesn't mean that you should be doing that, right? So if they ask your guidance, you can be there with advice, but ultimately it's you would want to empower and not do for them, right? So making sure that you're not messing in other people's stuff, right? And really refocus on your own. That was actually a big learning for me. I'm responsible for all my thoughts, words, actions, and results. I allow others to be responsible for their own thoughts, words, actions, and results. Closing sales comes naturally to me because I care about my clients and take good care of them. The more sales I make, the more lives are being transformed. I really, really struggled with sales in the beginning. The only way to help people is to actually work with them. I don't have to be perfect to help my clients make progress. That was my imposter syndrome there. I understand that showing up is 80% of success and that I will get even better at creating powerful transformation because I started before I was ready and I did everything I could to help people make progress. So this also was speaking to, I was hiding behind things like optimizing my website, creating content, working on a new offer, etc., over, getting those free sessions booked and just working with people. And that's also one thing that I want to address when it comes to overwhelm is, are you overwhelmed or are you being avoidant of the things that you actually know that need to be done for you to make this next jump, but they're just so uncomfortable or they're so uncertain or they're so unclear that you can't get yourself to do it. And if that's the case, then sit down and say, well, what do I know I should be doing right now? Why am I not doing it? What am I afraid of? What do I not know about the situation? What would I need to have in order to do this, right? So thinking about that, what is that exact obstacle in front of you that you know you should be tackling? And what is it that you're avoiding? And then dissecting the obstacle and say, okay, this is a big elephant in front of me, but what is its toes and what is the legs and what are the ears, and dissecting that and saying, okay, how can I tackle a smaller chunk of this problem today, and how can I commit to every single day eat a little piece of that elephant until I'm through on the other side. And that's ultimately where the big breakthroughs are happening. And I can guarantee you, if you feel in a stage of overwhelm, it's because you've hit some of those elephants and you know about them more or less consciously, and you go trying to go down other avenues because you're trying to avoid eating that elephant. But it has to be, right? Is it your fear of being visible? Is it your fear of when you put out that free session, nobody takes you up? Is it that fear of when you have that free session, the person doesn't convert into a paid client? What is it, right? What is, from the program's perspective, the immediate next step that you should set? And if you don't know that, what's the immediate next step that you should set? you should come into the groups or submit your question for the next group coaching call to get clarity on what is my immediate next step. And then when you know what that immediate next step is, then figure out why you can't do it. Is it a lack of confidence? Is it something that you fear? Is it a tool, some resource that you need? Figure that out, get what you need, be resourceful, and then move forward. And then just think about that next step. And that's something that like I showed you, I'm doing that on a daily basis. What is the next step today? What is the next piece of the elephant? And I don't even want to think about the whole elephant. I don't want to even look at the whole elephant. I'm just eating the pieces that I can eat today. And that's, how you ultimately move forward. So think about those things, please. Use the tool. I think that it's the best thing for you. I even, whenever I am having conversation with Jessa and she's overwhelmed, I'm like, did you do the Eisenhower Matrix? She's like, nope. And then she does it. We create a to-do list for us. We knock off one thing after the other, because ultimately, it really just comes down to the things that you do, right? Consistently towards this one thing that creates the outcome. So when you're overwhelmed right now, it's like, what can I do today? Where am I on the journey? What is my goal? My smart, specific, measurable, attainable, time bound, and measurable goal. And then say, what do I need to do in order to get there? What are the sub goals, milestones that I need to reach? Okay. From those sub goals, what are the steps within that? Okay. What are the steps within that? Until you have so small steps as in, today I need to write this email. Tomorrow I need to add the order bump to this funnel. The day after I need to add the tracking, right? So until you have really, really clear chunks. And if you're unclear about something, like I said, go to the communities, submit your question for the calls, right? So there's all the resources that you have, but it starts with you just sitting down and having that commitment. I can guarantee you that if you do this consistently, the daily self-management, I can guarantee you will not feel overwhelmed. This is so true. I think my overwhelm is spending money on Facebook ads for my retreat because there's no template for that. So here it comes, for example, towards that I don't recommend in the program to do a retreat, right? So I have personally never hosted an in-person retreat. And if I'm creating a template now for this, I would purely guesstimate it. So I could not tell you that this is the right template, this is the right campaign objective, etc. I can just make a guesstimate for you, right? And then suddenly, if I'm making a template for you, and here's like, here you go, Beth, here's your template for the retreat. Now everyone is like, are we doing retreats now? Is there a template that I missed? Now everyone gets overwhelmed as well, right? So, and that comes back to my roadmap. In-person retreats or retreats in general, they're not on my roadmap. I have no personal experience to pass that on to you. So I cannot make this a part of my program. It's not a part of the program, right? And if I would incorporate this now, first off, it would be not genuine because I have no real life experience with that. And second off, I could not help you troubleshoot this at all because I don't know what the KPIs are. And if I start to help you and incorporate and create experience in that area, people will now want to do that as well. And with that, it distracts them from the curriculum of the program. So I understand that this is a roadblock for you right now, but I can just say, love, this is not a part of the program that I offer, right? So I can only say, do you want to work on your self-liquidating offer funnel for your membership? Because that is what I can help you with, and that's what's a part of the program here. And I think that's also something to recognize, right? That there's on one side, we have the members that are overwhelmed, of course, because there's a lot of information that goes into building a 7-figure business, right? There's a lot of information. I do recognize that, and I do absolutely think that this is an insane amount of information, right? At the same time, if I'm not holding that boundary and say, well, I don't have that, and that I can create that experience with you and we can collect the data, etc., the scope creep will never end, and the program gets diluted further and further and further, which I don't want, because ultimately I want everybody make streamlined progress towards what's promised in the programs, which is Coach Hub full-time online with one-to-one sessions, Funnels and Ads Pro scaling away from one-to-one towards one-to-many with self-liquidating offer funnels, coaching mini membership method, building a membership A to Z, and launching it and funneling the growth with Facebook ads. Have created my funnel freebie to main membership with all order bumps and emails, but there are templates for that, but still scared of ads. And I understand that, right? But if we're not, that's the same thing is like, if we're not running the ads, we will never be able to validate it, right? And then you've done all this beautiful work and now you're just hitting the roadblock with it. The thing is with the ads is that it's a process towards optimizing them, right? And the sooner we start, the sooner we have data and the sooner we can optimize from there. I think one of the biggest fears with the ads is that, oh, what if I lose money, right? The better approach towards thinking that is, I'm investing $50, $100 to gain insight as in how well my messaging is crafted in order for it to convert towards a cold audience, right? So using it, you could pay someone to do an audit of your website, or you could take that money, put it on Facebook ads and have real live data as a feedback towards how well you have crafted your offer from a communication standpoint, right? So maybe we can think of it like that, right? And say, well, instead of purchasing, an audit, I'm actually having the real world audit my website, and then I have very, very accurate data that I can use to adjust my offerings, and then I can test it again, right? So more seeing that as this is actually the process of refining that and creating that. I think that is the best way that I see it. I don't see it as in I wasted this money on ads now. I would only have wasted it if I would have first of not deliberately set it up in a way that I know that I have done everything right technically, right? And then if I'm not looking at the data and doing something with it, then I have wasted my money, right? But that's my choice. That's something that I can control. How I'm setting it up, I can control that. What I'm doing with the data, I can control that. How often I want to test, I can control that. So knowing you're at control of at each of these steps, right? And that it's a portion of building that website, this reframe really, really helped me. Well, for example, Bev, you just in order to get those ads done right now, right? Craft the visual, craft the copy, submit both for the call for the review. We can rework the visual and we can rework the copy. And I can give you targeting recommendations. You can set up the campaign. You can submit the video feedback under the ads questions post for someone to review the campaign before you press start. Then you let the campaign run at $15 a day for 72 hours. And then we look at the data. That's the next step towards that, right? Is okay, let me craft the visual with the best practice that I have. Let me craft the copy, really take the time, right? Because that's also a thing is don't be over reliant on us. Really sit down and say, okay, if I was to communicate that, you poured so much heart and soul into this, right? If you were this crazy person on the Times Square that tells people about the aliens coming, but that is your membership, right? That person that says, look, here is what I've built and here's why it's so meaningful to me and here's how it can help you, right? And you really pour that into the copy and into the visual. What we can make out of it based on our feedback is infinitely better than anything we can ever come up with from scratch, right? Because you have this why in you, why you've created the membership. So do that, submit it, get that feedback, set it up as a campaign, record how you have set it up, submit it, get that feedback, and run it for 72 hours, record the numbers, get that feedback, and based on the feedback, we know what we need to do. So that is your focus thing. That's what I would put on my daily self-management worksheet. I would be like, I need to create that visual. I need to write that copy. I need to submit that for review for the next coaching call, right? That's how we would want to roll. I totally get the procrastination paralysis. I love the idea of breaking down the elephant. I do need to prioritize just that one thing a day when I'm overwhelmed, so I'm still moving towards a little bit. Absolutely. And I've been doing that. I don't want you guys to think that I've not been doing that. After this year, when Amazon stopped working with us, there was like a whole year where I would really just live off basically my savings. I had my ad agency, but where we had clients, but I didn't want that, right? So I tried to build up something on the side, and I can tell you there were days, if not weeks, going by where I would do the most random things. Build a furniture drop shipping store for no reason at all that I never did something with. Like, I did so much work every single day that absolutely I was so orientationless with that. And I really get where that is coming from. But I think where it was born for me was that I thought I could never fail again. So I just need to make this, and I need to make it perfect. And then I was just stuck in this kind of information consumption and building cycle, but I would never put something out there to test, because if I would do that, right, the chance of failing again, which what happened there felt like a failure to me, that was just, I couldn't risk that, because what would that say about me? So ultimately I kept like spiraling down until the point where I really had no other choice but putting myself out there and just doing it, right? So I don't want you to have to get yourself to a point where you're so desperate that you say, okay, now I actually might need to put myself out there and do all of this. It's much nicer if it can come from a proactive place. So allowing yourself to just do the thing, right? And even if that means you need to pivot, right, you're allowed to do that. When I started this whole thing, I thought that I will basically have my group coaching program and all of that. I pivot from, it doesn't look like that to you guys, but it looks definitely like that for me. I pivoted quite far in my business, and I never thought that I would teach about memberships. Eventually only the doing led me there. And that's the big thing, is this, the doing and readjusting on a daily basis. That's what gets you there. And this thought of you being able to anticipate that and kind of prepare to have that perfect launch or to have that perfect thing, it's just not how it plays out in real life. That's the unfortunate thing. Do you recommend for membership content to be dripped instead of making them available all at once? This circles back to the overwhelm question of the potential member. Absolutely. So I personally am not a fan of dripping content, because when you look at my memberships, there is people join at different stages, right? So for example, just Coach Growth Hub, very often we actually have established coaches in there, right, that like the networking opportunity, or that now want to really redo their transformation so that they get ready for a membership offer. Or when you look at the coaching mini membership method, I have people who had memberships for years now joining and just saying, okay, I've been doing SEO, or I've been doing affiliate, and now I really want to nail the ads portion of things. I really want to find a better way to overhaul my membership. So, and I have complete bloody beginners. If I would drip my content for people, then it will either be perfect, like for the ones in the beginning, but all the people who are kind of further in the journey, they will wonder if they just wasted their time, right? And you don't have a lot of time to make a first impression. I rather have my first impression, wow, there's a lot in there, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. I'd rather have that as a first impression versus, okay, I'm not sure if this is like actually helpful, right? Because if I'm gearing it towards beginners and making it in a way for them to not feel, a complete beginner will be completely overwhelmed with choosing the right domain name, right? If I'm now having a deep discussion about choosing the right domain name, which I have on YouTube videos and on live Q&As, and that's the first thing somebody who already has an established membership sees in my world, they're out, because they don't understand that they can find something of value in here. So I'd rather risk people being overwhelmed, or some people being overwhelmed, versus people not recognizing all the vault of information that they have in a membership. And I'd rather risk that someone has to go to the Facebook group or come on a weekly call to ask for specific guidance, versus a somebody coming, if I would structure it in a drip format, the majority of people that would come in would not find value in the first things they see. And because you don't get a second chance to make a first impression, that is the smaller trade-off that I'm happy to make. In terms of ads, I will create a conversion ad, but I haven't created a Facebook lead capture form. Instead, I have a lead page that leads to the thank you page that leads to the mini sales page. Is that okay? I have been procrastinating because of this. So what you would want to do is you would want to test running ads to the mini first directly. And whenever we do, I wouldn't necessarily start with the mini membership as a tripwire funnel. I wouldn't do that. I would either warm up my account with a lead generation ad and then upsell with the lead magnet to mini email sequence towards my mini, just to warm up the account just for 7 to 10 days to get an idea of what my audience is. And then I would try ads to the mini membership directly, because that's a much bigger chance of that being profitable. And if that doesn't work, I would still first go with an option funnel before I would go with the freebie to mini membership funnel. And that is the one that typically gains the least traction. So I wouldn't set it up this way. I would do either the mini membership funnel or the option funnel. And if you first need to warm up your ad account because you haven't run ads right in a while, and you would want to test that first, if that freebie to email upsell converts profitably, which is for quite a few of our members actually the case, that's their best funnel, then start with that. Start with the lead generation campaign, with the lead magnet to mini upsell sequence. And then if that converts, then obviously leave it running. If that doesn't convert, after a week, switch to testing mini membership ads, conversion campaign optimizing for sales campaign optimizing for purchase directly. And that's the same campaign objective. If that doesn't convert profitably, doing an option funnel. And also, when you say it doesn't convert profitably, let's see what doesn't convert profitably, right? So where are the KPIs in the funnel not aligning? Are you paying too much per click? Because your CPMs, CTRs equate to that, then we need to rework the ad. Is your cost per click great? And you're clearly communicating that's a paid membership, but your sales pitch is not converting, then we need to work on that, right? So baby steps towards from the first original ads. Hi there. I totally get that. I was so scattered, but have really spent time defining my strength and defining my niche. And now I'm going in a direction I'm feeling comfortable with. I spent the time on my website, etc. And now a lot of that is irrelevant as I've gone in a different direction. So time spent on my website has been wasted. I don't think it has been wasted. We think it has been wasted, but ultimately, every time you sit down and you do this messaging work, you're training yourself. Every time I'm sitting down to write a self-liquidating offer for one of my members or for one of my clients, I'm learning something for my own self-liquidating offers, right? The way it carved out a pain point, I'm like, oh yeah, true. I could, for my next offer, I can also take it down this direction, right? Or I'm finding a new structure for a headline where I'm like, oh, that actually conveys transformation really attractively, right? So whenever we do this messaging work, there's always a translation towards being a better copywriter as well. So that time was not wasted. You actually learned a skill of communicating more clearly, and that this is not stuck on this niche. That insight you gained there is not stuck on that niche. It actually translates in towards a skill set of yours, right? So you now, the next time around as well, you're also much more familiar with the page structure itself, right? You already know the methodology. So the next time you do this, it costs you a fraction of the cognitive effort than the first time. So I would definitely not say that it's wasted. I think that you've actually done a huge heavy lift, and for the next time around you'll get there faster, better, and it's a real skill. It's acquiring a real skill by doing that. Okay, lovely people, I have to take a break now. Like I said, didn't want to hop on again, but I really mean that, love. It is true. Think of that. Like, think how much you learned just through that process, and how much easier it will be to do that the next time. It will be. And also, that what comes with that is you got yourself to sit down for a few hours and really work deliberately on something. That also translates into how you approach things, right? So you have learned that that's something you can do. And for me, that was also big. A big portion of my capacity right now was actually trained in those months that equated to nothing. That the sheer that you're able to sit and work on something with focus for hours, right? Many people aren't at that point. We have to recognize that. And whenever you do that, you're also training yourself to do that. And over time, you'll get better because you're doing the right things. And it costs you every time you sit down to work deliberately on something, you also prove to yourself that you can sit down and deliberately work on something. So I also think that that is something that translates into everything that you do in the future. It makes you stronger, and it makes you more resilient, and it makes you more capable. And thank you so much for sharing, Beth. And let's please do that. Okay, lovely people, I'll hop off now, and I wish you a wonderful start in the week, a wonderful Monday. And please, if you can just do one thing, start using the daily self-management worksheet. And if your clients get overwhelmed, pass it on to them, right? Say, okay, let's take one day at a time, because everyone is just taking one day at a time. Everyone is just doing one task at a time, and all those millions of micro tasks, they equate to where you want to go. There's no other like secret sauce behind that. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. Expertise is built for experience. The one thing that Alex Hormozi said that I think is like the truest sentence of all time is, the work works on you. And I think that's so true. And the work in itself is valuable. If you can recognize that, instead of saying, oh, no, I wasted this time working on this, now I wasted. No, this work worked on you. And you are better because you did it. It's like you dig a hole in the garden, right? And then you put the soil back on the hole, and you close that hole. You could have said that's worth nothing, right? There's no hole, but feel the soreness the next day, and your muscles grow, right? So that work worked on you, and that's so true in your business. None of your work is ever lost if you decide that it is so. Okay, lovelies. Now really I have to hop off. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.